Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapeshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatai Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gau Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, welcome you all for this Gita Unplugged series. Is there anyone who has come for the first time? Koi pehli baar aaye hai? All right. So, I believe most of you have attended, have been a regular participant. Before I begin, there was a message sent to carry a pen. How many of you have a pen with you? Raise your hands high up. How many of you don't have a pen with you? आप पक्का डिनर खाने के लिए आए लगता है भाई एक प्रोग्राम अटेंड करने आ रहे हो कुछ तो डायरी कुछ तो पेन होना चाहिए मतलब कॉन्फिडेंस का भी लेवल बहुत हाई होता है हाँ अच्छे अच्छे लोगों को भगवद गीता समझ नहीं आती आपका कॉन्फिडेंस देखो एक बार सुनेंगे समझ आ जाएगा कुछ लिखना नहीं कुछ नहीं करना ग्रेट हाँ गेट सम पेन्स आल्सो टेल अस वी कैन बाय सम पेन्स फॉर टुडेस वी आर गोना हैव सम एक्सरसाइज So, all right, this Gita Unplugged series, we are on the part 3 of this program. We are discussing now from chapter number 13 to chapter number 18. So, there was a discussion about the Lord and the living entity, and finally, relationship of Purusha and Prakriti like that. So, a lot can be said, but I'll just quote this particular verse. Krishna said in 13th chapter, verse number 22. Please repeat after me. Purushaha prakritisto hi. Let it loudly, please. Purushaha prakritisto hi. Bhunkate prakriti jan gunan. Karanam guna sangasya. Sad asad yoni janmasu. According to the Vedic sciences, forget about Vedic sciences, even if you look from the logical point of view, even if our parents have no clue, for example, let's say the mother who is holding the child in her womb, even she has no clue or the control on what's happening with the child within her womb. Yes or no? She is not the one, although she is holding the child in her womb, but she is not the one who dictates what a linga, a man or woman, male or female. Would he look smart? Would he look fatty? Would he have a great IQ level? Mother has no control, father has no control on that. Of course, they have certain influence, but largely not. So according to Vedic science, the body that we have is nothing but the product of 3 modes of material nature. That's what Krishna is saying here. Purushaha prakriti stohi bhunkate prakriti jan gunan. A living entity in this world, he is conditioned by 3 modes of material nature. Sattva guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. This is called as Prakriti. And this Sattva, Raja and Tamoguna controls the living entity. Now Prakriti is not the supreme. Prakriti is energy. Energy is dependent on energetic. Krishna is clipped out in this picture right now. But Purusha owns Prakriti and that Prakriti manipulates the living entity. All of us, therefore there are so many variegatedness. Modern science says we are nothing but a machine. If you go and buy an iPhone 5S model, would you expect one iPhone 5S model to be different than another iPhone 5S model? Yes or no? Loudly. Yes or no? If you go and buy a particular make of HP laptop, in that particular series, Would the make would be same? Yes or no? Then my question is, then in human species, then in the male body, why there's so much variegatedness? Just in the physical outlook. I'm not talking on the subtle body right now. That is a separate subject matter we're starting soon, human psychology. Look at the ladies here, look at the man here. Why there's so much variegatedness? You know, you're like iPhone 5S, maybe this is iPhone 12S, whatever you call it. It's the same model, same series. Why there is so much differences is all manipulated by the three modes of material nature, and being conditioned in that situation, living entity lives his life completely forgetful or ignorant of the fact why things are going in a certain manner in his life. So that was a subject which was mentioned, that how a living entity is manipulated by the three modes of material nature. So chapter 13 talked about the living entity is caught up with the material nature, three modes of material nature. Why is he caught up with the three modes of material nature? Because he has chosen to be entangled with this material world. So because of his desire to enjoy. In Sanskrit, this is called as karmatmakam buddhi. Karmatmakam buddhi. How many of you would agree our mind can never sit idle or peacefully? Even if there is a free time, I would always be thinking about what to do, what to do, what to do. Yes or no? This is called as karmatmakam buddhi. How many of you have experienced that my mind is filled with unlimited desires? Ye dil mange more is always true, is never false. So like that, because we have chosen to manipulate, try to play around in this world, therefore we are caught up under the clutches of three modes of material nature. Now the 14th chapter will go further in details. This is a profound subject matter, where Krishna will speak about how at the first place living entity is bound to this world through the modes of nature. Although this chapter 14th is titled as Modes of Material Nature, I am renaming it for the sake of understanding. I'm calling it as a puppet show. How many of you have seen puppet show in your life? You've seen puppet show? Now when you see the puppet show, you don't see the puppeteer, right? You just see the puppets dancing. So from a third point of view, if of course you know there is a puppeteer behind, but it is not visible. You can't even see the fine threads. From an audience point of view, what you see is all the activities on the stage is done by a puppet. But that is not the fact. Because you are grown up, you have the knowledge, so you understand puppets are not independent. They have been manipulated by the puppeteer who is behind the curtain. And that is what Krishna explains here, and I will prove it to you. By the end of the session, will give you enough evidences that you will understand that how our life, every thought, every action, every word spoken by us is entirely manipulated and controlled by the three modes of material nature. One who can understand the science of how it functions can change his own destiny. And if he wishes, he can change others' destiny also. And that is how the modern psychology, all of you, how many of you have Facebook account, Instagram account? Let's assume it that most of you have it. Let me ask this question. How many of you agree that these social media tools are a little addictive? Please raise your hand. Just we go on to it and we just entirely forget time, space ever existed. We go into a state of samadhi and we keep on, flipping of a finger or swiping of a finger, and the Facebook wall, or what do you call, Instagram shorts or something, or reels, never ends. Isn't that amazing that they have created something which is so addictive to you, not to you, but to everyone? For example, we call smoke and alcohol as intoxication and addiction. But the government has a policy that 18 years and above are only allowed to consume alcohol and smoke, right? But can you think about what an addiction social media is? And on top of it, there is no policy governing the usage of social media. Even a 10-year-old child can be on the social media and waste his entire life. Yes or no? Now my point is, how did they created a product which is so enticing to us, so much so that we forget everything? This is what is the fact. If anyone in the world who hires the maximum psychologists are not the hospitals, are hired by these social media companies. They are the one who gives the ideas. They are the research engineers who gives the idea what kind of product should be added which will further entangle and entice your audience. You might know this fact. Anything which is free on internet, which means you are the product. And therefore, for every social media tool, how they make money is through advertisement. And how advertisement brings money to them? The amount of time you spent scrolling on it is building, making millions and billions of dollars for them. Can you imagine? Because I worked in IT, I worked in network and security. What's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. That's not my subject, but because I'm talking on more matter nature. Mark Zuckerberg is the second or the number one richest person in the world. What does he has? What does he own? A social media company? Can you ever imagine like this 10 years ago? Or 15 years ago when I was in the industry? There's somebody having a social media company. At our time there was Orkut, launched by a Brazilian branch of Google. There were other tools like that. Nobody ever thought that this will turn into a business, so much so, it will make you the richest person in the whole world. I mean, they're not manufacturing anything, but they have enslaved millions and millions and billions of people all over the world who are glued to the screen. They keep swiping and they keep printing money there. How did they become so successful? It's because of psychologists. They understand. So when you understand the subject matter, not only you can change your destiny, even you can manipulate. That's how the three modes of material nature function. And psychologists, what they do, they study this kind of subject matter. Therefore, I'm starting this. By the way, we have not announced, right? So we are starting a new series that will not be happening on evening hours. The venue will be different. That is human psychology. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Sound interesting? So announcement will come soon. You can join if you're interested. But I have put a criteria for it. The criteria is you don't get to choose if you get to attend that program or not. I get to choose if I permit you for that program or not. So I'm going to take a quiz, a test for every participant. Probably they're working on the system right now. You'll have to go through a quiz and questionnaire because I don't want you equipped with the knowledge unless I'm confident you can handle it. And once you clear that quiz and I'm satisfied with the interaction with you, then I'll give you. It won't be a public program like that. It'll be a closed event. Anyways, let's move forward. So the puppet show, misconception. So one of the greatest misconception this creation has given to us is, I am the doer and the controller. How many of you agree? Not agree with the misconception, but you agree that you think you are the doer and the controller. How many of you strongly believe I am the doer and the controller? Please raise your hands. Whatever I do is done by me. And because it's done by me, the results should also come. And if results doesn't come, then I make a cry. ऐसा क्यों नहीं हुआ? And why I can make a cry? Why I can say I'm a victim? Because I'm supposed to be the controller. But that is not the fact. You ain't the doer. You don't even perform an action. So like I'm speaking right now is not even performed by me. Of course, they'll become a little more subtle, but let's take a look at some of the things. Jiva is a puppet in the hands of the Lord's external energy, and these three modes of material nature, they manipulate. And the Jiva dances according to the tune. Let me give you an example over here. Imagine you are running for an office in the morning and you have a very important client meeting. Probably your client is visiting your office and your manager has strictly given a dictum to the whole team. 10 a.m. sharp, you have to be in the office. But we know the Hinjawadi traffic goes. You get stuck. 9:45, right at Hinjawadi Chowk. And you have to come only at Infosys Phase 1. It's hardly a 1 kilometer. But the traffic is not moving only. 9:45 becomes 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock becomes 10:15. And you're stuck in your car, auto, cab, whatever. How will you react? Any thoughts? How would you react? What are the possible potential responses can you give to the situation? Have you ever been stuck in a traffic? So how do you react? Angry? Anxious? You're in anxiety? But that's not a response. How do you respond? You are in anxiety, but what's the response? Anger. Frustration. What else? Anger, frustration. What other potential responses you can give? Have you seen sometime you're stuck on a traffic light and there is somebody behind knows the very fact that there is a traffic light signal, but he's still honking? I remember once I was driving, this was many years ago, back in Delhi, almost 15, 20 years ago. And I'm in the traffic light signal, and this guy is honking. I got fed up. मैंने खिड़की खोली. मैंने कहा उड़ के जा उड़ के. अब मतलब मैं क्या करूँ? गाड़ी उड़ाऊंगा यहाँ से. सिग्नल तो नहीं जा सकते. And that fellow is relishing the honking. उसके लिए उसका music चल रहा है. So you'll agree that different people will give different responses. Have you seen some people are totally indifferent what is happening outside? They have headphone into their ears and they're relishing some music. While other person sitting right next to him or her is becoming so anxious, agitated, disturbed, whatnot. So do you agree for the same situation, all of us humans having a similar physical make, similar subtle body, same constituents made of earth, water, fire, ether, yet we would give different responses, yes or no? My question again to you is, as the modern science says, we are nothing but a hardware, we're just a machine. So if, let's say on the computer you enter A, or in the phone you enter a number, the phone should dial, which means every phone will give a same kind of response. Then why we living entities give a different response? Any thoughts about it? Have you ever wondered? Forget about that. Have you ever had an experience that you yourself giving a different response to a similar situation? How many of you have that experience? Raise your hand. Same situation. Yesterday was one kind of response, today was another kind of response. What does it tell you? What does it mean? Why? On what basis are you giving different responses? And this is all due to the influence of three modes of material nature. Depending on what mode of consciousness you are, accordingly you act. These three modes of material nature or modes of material nature are in three segments: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Each of this segment of goodness, passion, ignorance have their own attributes, set attributes. If you are situated in mode of goodness consciousness, then you will act in a set pattern. If in mode of passion, you will act in a set pattern. Mode of ignorance, you will act in a set pattern. Is that clear? I'm going to prove it to you in a short while. But I hope you're capturing this point. The three modes of consciousness: goodness, passion, ignorance. And whatever goodness, passion, ignorance you are at a given point of time, your response is already dictated. It's already clear you're going to act like this. Only thing is you don't understand in what mode of consciousness. But once you know the science, observing your response can tell you in what mode of consciousness you are situated. Which means once you understand the science, now you can change your responses by altering your mode of consciousness. So which means a lot of time people come to me, tell me, Prabhu, I so often become angry. I have this nature of being short-tempered. This is a standard classic quality of mode of passion. You need to understand how goodness, passion, ignorance functions, and you need to understand how do you change the modes. Once you get the science and the skill set, now you can alter your modes and change your behavior. We'll come to it. Let me give an example. Cool-headed Socrates and his angry wife. Socrates had been a great philosopher. He was sitting with his group of friends, completely oblivious of what his wife was doing in the kitchen. She was calling for Socrates. He was indifferent to her calls and whatnot. And he was busy having a philosophical discussion. His wife had a short-tempered nature, and she really got frustrated because Socrates was not responding. She came and screamed right in front of the whole friends Socrates had. Socrates didn't pay attention. He continued having a conversation with his friends. Wife came, screamed, and went away. But the friends became a little uneasy, thinking that, the situation at home is not good. Looking at their face, Socrates decided, okay, let's go out of the house. We'll sit in the garden and continue our discussion. All of them got up, came out of the house. Socrates turned around to close the door. The moment he turned towards his friend and about to take a step forward to walk towards the garden, suddenly the whole bucket of water fell on Socrates, as if the whole monsoon rain cloud had bursted on the head of Socrates. None of the friends got wet, only Socrates got wet. What do you do? Immediately everyone looked up, and there was Socrates' wife with an angry face, and she had dumped a whole bucket full of water on Socrates' head. My question to you, how would you react? How do you react? Give some responses. What do you think? How would you react? There are different ways people can react. One standard somebody can say is angry, somebody may say indifferent. How did Socrates responded? Let me tell you. Imagine you are sitting in a meeting with your senior executives, managers, and whatnot, and the senior executive, let's say the CEO of the company, he begins to scream at the top of his voice, and everyone is pointing a finger at you. You are responsible for what has happened. How do you react? How do you respond? You getting it? Just like you may not have the situation was between Socrates and his wife, but in office life we get into a situation where we are at times put on a blame situation. Then how do you react? If you take a look at Socrates, how did he reacted? He just did not reacted at all anything. He smiled at his wife, didn't say a word, and walked away. How many of you think that was the coolest response you can give to such a situation? Imagine if he would have reacted, then cloud would have bursted more. And there could have been a potential rainfall not only outside, inside the house also. But because he just smiled and walked away, situation got pacified entirely. In fact, he said, what he said? Some time ago it was thundering, now it is raining, that's all. And he joked and walked away with his friends. So how did, Socrates give a response? So why different people have different responses? It is because of what we call as three modes of material nature. These three qualities of goodness, passion, ignorance permeates everything about your existence. Okay, let's do one thing. Less the ladies can do for ladies, men can do for men. Just turn around where you're sitting, look at the man. You will see everyone having different hairstyles. Just look around, and same the ladies can do here. The man here having different hairstyle, different kind of a clothes. Somebody may have checkered shirt, half sleeve, full sleeve, dark color, light color. Similarly, ladies may have different shades over here. Now, some of the shades you may like, may not like. Some of the hairstyle you may like or not like. Why there are so many differences? The cloth that you wear, the choice of your cloth, is also dependent on the modes of consciousness. How you walk, how you talk, what kind of food choices you prefer, what kind of entertainment you watch, how, the places you choose for your recreation, everything is dictated by these three modes of material nature. Our lifestyle, attitude, and behavior, they all are governed by these three modes of material nature. Like this, everyone is trapped in this material world. And this is not for the first time we are discussing. Krishna had discussed about the modes of material nature in the 7th chapter. Please repeat. Devihi esha gunamai mamamaya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Krishna says this divine energy, gunamai, Guna, Sattva Gun, Rajagun, Tamagun, Gunamai, the goddess of Guna. It is my energy. Simple Sanskrit. Devihi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya. It is my energy. Duratyaya. But you cannot cross over, which means you cannot set yourself free. The puppet cannot break the strings of the puppeteer by himself. Mamevaya prapadyante. However, if the puppet takes my shelter, then I, being independent outside of this control of the puppeteer, I can go and cut your string and set you free. Imagine a puppet show. You, from the audience, get up and decide to release one of the puppets. What will you do? You'll just break the string. But the puppet cannot set himself free. That's what Krishna said, because it's my energy, I can do that. Let's begin the chapter. There are 27 verses, not a big chapter, and it has an acronym called as TRAP, where T begins for three modes of material nature. Before getting into the subject matter, very interestingly, Krishna declares something about himself in relation to Jivatma. Please repeat after me. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma hadayone aham bij pratapitaha. Krishna says there are different forms of living entities, the plants, the birds, the bees, the humans, the animals and whatnot. All these different species combined together makes 8.4 million species of forms. And all these 8.4, very interesting, all these species are created by three modes of material nature. If it is created by three modes of material nature, then all these species should be a permutation combination of three modes, which means mathematically to be proven, 8.4 million should be divided by 3 and should produce an even number. Yes? Remember your old mathematics? So please divide 84 by 3. Is it even number or no? Yes or no? Quickly. It's an even number, which means it's a permutation and combination of the modes of material nature. Krishna says all these living forms have become active because I am the seed-giving Father. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Again, as I said in the beginning of the session, for a second, if you can just get rid of this temporary identification, you are a male, you are a female. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we are the spirit soul. The soul doesn't have any linger. So this soul has been injected into a male body and female body. By whom? Aham bija prataha pitaha. I am the seed-giving Father. So this living entity, Jivatma, the souls, belong to the Supreme Lord. And why we have got these different forms? Based on our desires. In the 8th chapter, Krishna discusses about the science of reincarnation, the secret of reincarnation. How do you get a new set of body? Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tayajate ante kalevaram. At the time of quitting kalevaram, ante kalevaram matlab sharir, anta kalevaram, sharir ko tyagte samay, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Whatever you remember, accordingly you get your next form. So, hypothetically, it appears must have thought about male, that's the reason in male body, and must have thought about the female, that's the reason in a female body. There is a whole system, it doesn't happen randomly. So how does this form comes? Because we desired it. But how this body we acquired? Krishna, the Lord, aham bija pratapita. He begins with this. So who is the cause of my creation? So who is the cause of your birth? There are three kind of causes: immediate, intermediate and ultimate. So I will ask you, who is the cause of your existence? What is an answer? Parents, that is immediate cause. And as you grown up people also know, they also have no control on your existence. Then after that immediate cause comes intermediate cause. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are traveling in a train sitting in a sixth number bogie, and there's a small child saying, or maybe he raises a question to you, Uncle, how this bogie is running itself forward in the forward direction? And you say, well, not you, let's say there is another boy who's a little elder to that child. He says, well, this bogie is going in this particular direction because the bogie ahead of it is pushing this bogie. Yes, it is correct. So bogie ahead of it is pushing it. But is that a complete answer? That is an incomplete answer. It's not a wrong answer. To say the parents are cause of our existence is not a wrong answer, but it is an incomplete answer. It is an immediate cause. So what is an intermediate cause? So the one sitting in the sixth bogie, we may say the intermediate cause is the first bogie. Because that is the first number bogie which is pulling us. But that is also not a complete answer. then you being the knowledgeable person, you will say, well, my dear son, who is pulling this bogie? Ultimately pulled by the engine which is in the front. That is the ultimate cause of the action which is pulling. So my question to all of you is, if immediate cause of our existence is parents, who is the intermediate cause? That is what Krishna said in 30th chapter verse number 22. The intermediate cause is Prakriti. It is Prakriti who awards you, according to your desires, the particular form that we have. So who is the ultimate cause? Prakriti is not independent. Prakriti is also dependent. Prakriti means energy. Sunshine does not exist independently. It depends on sun. Sunshine is energy and sun is energetic. Prakriti is energy, depends on energetic. Aham bija pratapita, that's what Krishna says. I am the ultimate cause of your existence. And he says, Aham bija prataha pitaha, I am the father of all. Himself, Krishna is declaring for all the living entities. Like that. Not only this, in the 8th chapter we saw, Krishna described this material world as Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. We hadn't discussed the subject matter over there. Let's talk about it briefly here. Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Krishna says the material world that you're living in, there are two qualities for it. Alaya means house, is the house of suffering. Shashvat means eternal, Ashashvata means temporary. So, do you all agree, whoever has taken a birth, death is as sure? Which means Ashashvat? Is this a universal fact? Yes or no? Doesn't depend on you are Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai. Universal fact, even doesn't matter you're a human being or a plant or an animal. If you're born, death is sure. Alright. Do you all agree, somebody who has taken a birth has to go through diseases, has to go through old age? This is called as Dukhalayam. And this is not the whole list of Dukhalayam. There are three Kaleshas, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika. When Krishna is saying this is Dukhalayam, it's not that he's joking to Arjuna on the battlefield. It's a fact. It's unavoidable. Adhyatmika, because of one's own mind. How mind troubles us? Unlimited desires, because of which mind never allows us to be satisfied and content in our present condition. When we were students, we were given a hope, when you will get a job, you'll be happy. When you got a job, then you're thinking, how can I shift a job? We're always in anxiety, yes or no? There is a constant adhyatmika klesha. Then adhibhautika klesha, which exists because of other living entities. It could be your friends, family members, people on the street, if not anything, mosquitoes. Yes? Does it exist for everyone? Adhibhautika. Then Adhidaivika, that refers to the natural causes. Just a week or two before, it was too hot in Pune. It reached up to 43 degrees. It was difficult. This is called as Adhibhautika. Then now, after 2-3 weeks, it's going to be a rainy season. Then again, for some, it could be an inconvenience. So these kleshas, Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika, Adhyatmika, do you all agree now? It exists for all. Yes or no? Klesha means suffering. And Krishna says, this world is filled with such sufferings. On top of it, there is birth, there is death, old age, and disease. So like that, Krishna describes, this is the world of Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. Scriptures also compared this world to a prison house. What's the difference between a free society or a person moving in an open society and in a prison house? The difference is, you and I, because we have not done anything wrong, we are given freedom by the laws of our country that we can move around freely, yes? But because somebody has been found guilty of some wrongdoing, he has been put behind the prison bar. The moment you are put behind the prison bar, you lose your freedom. Now everything is dictated according to the rules of the prison. You don't have that much freedom like this. Similarly, why scriptures compare this material world to a prison house? Because we are also bound in this world. We may very proudly say, we should say, no doubt about it, that we gained independence in 1947. But from the perspective of spiritual science or Vedic sciences, Actual freedom is when you have gone beyond the clutches of modes of material nature. When this material world is compared to a prison house means a person is tied with a rope. Similarly, all of us are tied with three ropes. Guna in Sanskrit also means conditioning and rope. We are tied with three ropes or three conditioning of Sattva Gun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. We are moving in a prison house which does not have a cell. We don't see any prison bar, but we are bound by these three ropes. Unless we cut through these three ropes, that will be the subject matter of 15th chapter, how to cut these three ropes. Unless we cut these three ropes, a living entity cannot actually have a sense of freedom. Until then, we are conditioned and bound. Therefore, Krishna says, please repeat, Sattvam Rajastama iti. थोड़ा जोश से सत्वम रजस्तमा इति गुणा प्रकृति संभवा निबध्नन्ति महाभाहो देह देहिनम अव्ययम्. The moment living entity, Atma, when he enters into this material world, he gets conditioned by these three modes. Which means the moment you come out of the womb of your mother, you are immediately conditioned by three modes of material nature. There are 5 levels of consciousness as Vedic psychology describes: Anamay, Manamay, or Pranamay, Manamay, Jnanamay, Vijnanamay, and Anandamay. Anandamay, that makes the 6th one. Annamaya consciousness. So beautifully our Vedic sciences have studied this psychology. What is Annamaya consciousness? Annamaya consciousness means the person in this state of consciousness, he is only conscious of one thing, that is food. Anything, anywhere he sees, puts it in his mouth. Sounds familiar? You see a small child. Anything the child puts his hand goes into the mouth. So the first 5 years of our life, we are said to be in Annamaya consciousness. And once we understand this science, we can train our kids accordingly. We can empower them accordingly. Anyways, that's a different subject matter. So like this, Krishna says, the moment you come out or you enter into this creation, you are conditioned by 3 modes of material nature. You don't perceive it, you don't see it. There are so many things that we don't see in this world, but things act. Just like there is a gush of wind. I can't see it, but I can feel it. Similarly, by our behavior, we can understand what mode is conditioning us. Now, let's begin to do the analysis of the modes. Symptoms, how it influences, an example. Let me begin with an example. Very simple, straightforward example. I believe you will understand. There were 3 brothers by the name of Satto, Raju and Tamo. All 3 brothers had a common business, same business. They were cap seller. वो दूसरों को टोपियाँ पहनाया करते थे. मतलब वो वाली टोपी नहीं. They were selling caps. So these 3 brothers staying together would go on alternate day to different villages across the forest to sell the caps. So one day Satto went, or let's imagine all 3 of them went in 3 different directions. Satto went in this direction, Raju went in this direction, Tammo went in this direction. And their wives had packed their lunch boxes, and when they reached, by the time they entered deep in the forest, it was already somewhat middle of the noon, or it was all middle of the afternoon. They decided to open the lunch box and eat their prasadam. They sat down, each of them individually sat down in their respective areas underneath the tree, opened their lunch box, ate nice prasadam, and after prasadam is generally advisable in Ayurveda, take 15-20 minutes nap. So it rejuvenates your body. And they all decided to take a nap. This part of the forest was infested with monkeys. And these cap sellers were carrying the whole box of caps. So all of them went to sleep in their own different places, and when they all woke up, they realized all the caps were missing. None of the cap was there. And they were in frantic way, they looked here and there, and then they saw on the branch of the tree, the monkeys, different monkeys around different places, were holding the cap. How many of you had recently gone to Vrindavan? कितने लोग के चश्मा या मोबाइल मंकी ने उठाया था? हाथ खड़ा करो. So they can relate to this example. Now put yourself into that situation. Not don't put yourself in a situation. Let's consider the example. So you have three individuals by the name of Sattu, Rajju, and Tammo. How would you react? There are three potential reactions possible. Let's talk about how did Tammo reacted. When Tammo saw that all the caps have gone away, he began to curse. Why do bad things happen to good people? मेरे संगी बुरा क्यों होता है? मैंने दुनिया का क्या बिगाड़ा है? सब कुछ लूट लिया, जीने का मतलब ही नहीं बना है, मैं जा रहा हूं सब कुछ छोड़कर. He goes to the bar, takes a drink, and he thinks life has no meaning. And he's cursing everyone. Sounds familiar? कितने को familiar है? हाथ खड़ा करो. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा आप करते हो. That's not the point. But you have seen people reacting like this, right? Raise your hand, raise your hand. It should make sense that everyone is relatable. That is the response of Tammo. What about the response of Rajjo? He gets up and he sees, hey, mera topi chala gaya. And he sees monkeys, they're holding the caps. He becomes so angry. He begins to scream at the monkey and said, how dare they? He picks up the pieces of rocks and he begins to throw at them. Do you think monkey is ever going to give you back a cap like this? And he tries his best. He becomes violent. He tries chasing after the monkey, hitting them. But how will he capture monkey who is up on the high on the branch? Finally becomes frustrated and he goes cursing. Sounds familiar? People becoming violent? Now we have a third brother by the name of Sattu. He got up and he sees his caps are missing and he realized, oh, the monkeys have stolen the cap. What do I do? He thinks. He thinks. The first brother, Tammo, he began victim card. He took out the victim card. मेरे संग हमेशा बुरा होता है. सब लोगों ने मेरे संग बुरा करा. He doesn't even think about it. He curses everyone and goes into the wrong practices. The one who was Rajjo, he becomes violent. He also didn't thought about it. However, the first eldest brother who was Sattu, he began to think about it. He thought, hey, how did it happen? Well, let me think about it. How do I resolve this conundrum or the puzzle? And then he realizes, well, monkeys are good copycat. And then he identified, because he was also walking in the summer season, so he had a cap. Before sleeping, he had folded that, put on his top pocket. He took out the cap from his pocket and he waved. He knew monkeys like to copy. And the monkeys also waved. And he waved. And the monkeys waved. And then he threw. And then monkeys saw. And monkeys also threw. And he went, picked up all the caps, went happily, did his business, came back home happily. All these three responsible, possible, yes or no? So Tammo is nothing but mode of ignorance. Those who take out again and again victim card. Those who go and take to intoxication or bad habits just to forget about what's going on in their life. Those who don't want to face the challenges, deal with the life, they're calling tamoguna, ignorance. Then we have mode of passion. They become angry and violent, no thinking. What we call impromptu, immediately. Then we have sattva guna, mode of goodness. They'll take a while and think about it, how to deal. This is called as mode of goodness. Is that making sense now? If I ask you, among the three modes of consciousness, which mode of consciousness we should be situated to be happy and to become successful in life? Which? Mode of goodness? I will not ask where are you right now, but you know where to go, at least mode of goodness. At least we understood this, right? Story of a cap seller. We may not have a control on the situations, but on our response. How is response determined? Or what determines our response? It all depends on mode of consciousness. So therefore, one who knows this subject matter, if he looks at your behavior, can tell you where are you situated. So if you want to, you don't have to go to any astrologer to tell about your future. You understand the science, you can become a fortune teller for yourself. You can yourself define and decide what your destiny would look like once you understand this. So how do mode affects our responses? Goodness, calm analysis before action. Passion, running with agitated mind. Ignorance, panic, confusion, and fear. This is how these modes function. Now let's take a look at what are the qualities of goodness. One is in knowledge, peaceful and happy. One who is situated in goodness, you'll find it happy and content. Regardless of he has more or less, doesn't matter. But he's happy. He can see things in the right perspective. He's in knowledge means he understands how life functions. Life is not always as we try to be. He has a calm, clear, and a creative thinking. Helps one to find an effective solution to life's problem. Many times people say, going to take guidance. First of all, find a guide who is in goodness. Only then he can guide you. Imagine you have a guide who is in mode of ignorance. Imagine where will he take you. So be careful of doctors whom you go and meet. Huh? First you do a quality test on them. कि कौन से मोड में situated हैं. What is the quality of passion? They are attached to prestige, greedy, and over-ambitious. Please take care of word. Ambitious is not wrong. Over-ambitious. These are the people who really work hard and burn themselves. The workaholic, and they not only burn themselves, they burn everyone around. Because they're so much goal-oriented. This is a workaholic. Suddenly wakes up to find himself at the edge of burnout. This is the platform where a person experiences deep sense of envy, competitiveness, selfishness, money-mindedness, and this is where the strong attachment or attraction for the opposite sex occurs. Difficult for him to stay focused for a long time. So those who are in goodness, they're calm and composed, they can do one thing peacefully for a longer time. But those who are in mode of passion, they just cannot do one thing for a while. They'll keep on moving. Forget about doing one thing. They cannot even sit peacefully. They have to get up and move around because the mind is so agitated. That is, these are some, I'm giving an introduction, okay? You can read more in details in chapter 14, chapter 17, and chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita. I will not be discussing this again. We'll discuss other subject matters, but just to give you a clue. What is the quality of ignorance? Lazy, oversleep, crazy, indulges in drinking, not pani and mango juice. This is what refers to what you call as alcohol. Smoking, drug addiction, and which he considered to be great happiness. Postpone, what you call as procrastination, is a classic quality of tamoguna. He is depressed, lonely, confused, panicky, insecure, fearful, and dependent on others for happiness. This whole sense of fear, insecurity, it all arises in quality of ignorance. He is always in this mood. Somebody please help me. I need help. I need help. A victimhood, a victim mentality. And these three modes of material nature, to help you remember, you can remember these three brothers. Ravana, Vibhishana, Kumbhakaran. So, Vibhishan, let's talk about Vibhishan, is in what mode does he represent? Vibhishan, loudly. See, so easy. I've just given you introduction. Even then, just knowing a little bit about the character, you can tell him what was the prominent mode. All right, Ravana. Ravana. All agreed? Rajaguna. He was attracted to opposite sex. He kidnapped Mother Sita. Prestige. Kumbhakaran. Tamaguna, sleeping straight for 6 months or a year like that. Like this. So, now, this is not in Bhagavad Gita. I'm giving a little analysis because all of you are the corporate world. I'm going to take the subject matter of GPI index, goodness, passion, ignorance index, and bring it into the corporate life. How leaders in different modes act. And if you want to be a successful leader, how essential it is for you to be situated in a right mode of consciousness. You can see it both way like this. Okay, let me ask this question. How many of you had a bad experience with your manager and had a complaint? यार बहुत काम देता है, बहुत भगाता है. It's too much passion. How many of you had that experience? So now you are getting a little bit of idea where is he? Workaholic like this. How many of you had an experience where you found your manager was like cool, composed, had a clear thinking? It's not that he decides today, tomorrow he changes. What he decided, he sticks to it. I'm sure there'll be little less people to be found around. But if you had that manager, don't lose him. He is the best manager for you. Let's take a look at how leaders. So let's begin with Tamoguna. What do you think leaders situated in Tamoguna would be like? You got something to know about ignorance. How would a leader in Tamoguna act? Quick answers. What do you think? Postponing his plans. He's not always keep postponing. Yes, what else? Huh? Say loudly. Raise your hand and say. Complaining. Yes, complaining. Okay. Not only complaining, putting the blame on others. Not taking responsibility. We're talking leader. He'll put the blame to others. Will not take responsibility. Leader means you should take responsibility. Postponing, blaming. What else? Yes. No, that's passion. Ignorance. What else? How would leader function in mode of ignorance consciousness? Lazy. Okay, let's take a look at it. He feels tired all over. He is always exhausted. You ask for a time, मैं बहुत थका हूँ, समय नहीं है. Sounds familiar? That's the first thing. Second, his fatigue is mixed. He is not only tired, his fatigue is mixed with nervousness, tension, and anxiety. He's always, what we call an anxiety state. So much so, sometimes people handshake like that. Often there is a sense of low self-esteem, and he sees life as being a burden, which means here comes the blaming. He will never take a responsibility to change himself, but put a blame to others. And he always have this experience, sense of low self-esteem. I am not good for anything. Nothing good. What else? He feels undesirable moods, negative thoughts, dysfunctional behavior, and he takes drugs or alcohol to alter mood. And depression may be triggered or worsened. This is a classic qualities of it. Imagine you have a person who's leading you like this. What he will make you out of it? You'll also end up becoming a person like this, a depressed candidate. Is that okay? Ignorance? What about a leader is situated in passion? Leader. What would be the attributes? Any quick thoughts? Raise your hand. Unrealistic targets. Okay. What else? Passion. Abrupt response, hasty decisions, changing decisions, Yes? Expect overtime, workaholic, okay? Too much pressurizing, puts a lot of pressure. Not considerate and sensitive to others' needs. That's what passion drives you. What else? Mode of passion, what could potentially be the attribute of a leader in mode of passion? Workaholic? Okay, dominating. My way, the only way. My way is the highway. Anything else? Let's take a look at it. Micromanagement. He is always in a stress-driven mood. And he likes that. He finds joy in stressful life. Because he's workaholic, he cannot sit peacefully without doing something. And that's where he finds a sense of excitement and power. His physical energy feels high. That's a way you can continue functioning in that. Even though he may face high levels of stress. So it's not that it's entirely wrong. It actually helps you to accomplish some set goals. So that way, he has a high level of energy. Which is better than mode of ignorance because he's lazy and crazy. However, he is impatient. As one of you said, he hastily changes decision without proper consideration. Remember the example of Rajo, the cap seller. What else? His efforts are infused with moderate to severe level of physical tension. Have you experienced an individual like this? You come in front of them, just after a few minutes of interaction, आपके शरीर में भी करंट फैलने लगता है. दर्द होने लगता है, टेंशन बढ़ने लगती है, एंग्जाइटी आने लगती है, ऐसा लगता है कि चिंगारी फैल गई हो. Because they're full of so much energy, and that's how you get affected. He blunts his ability to pay, which means this is what inconsiderate, insensitive. He becomes so much work conscious, a workaholic, because he's driven by that energy. He would not pay attention, not even to his own needs, means family needs, and needs of others. Like somebody said, asking regularly for extra time. And then we'll find someday at the edge of burnout and exhaustion. How many of you love iPhone? Raise your hand, please. How many of you love iPhone? You may afford or not, that's a secondary question. But you think iPhone is a great mobile phone? Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand high up, don't shy. Okay, some of you think. Just to let you know a little background of how you got this iPhone. The iPhone that you have in your hand, or if in case you like the iPhone, it led to huge amount of divorces. Steve Jobs had not allowed his team to go back to home for 6 months straight. 6 महीने के लिए 2007 was the first launch date and he failed. And 2008 was the second time and he launched and it launched. Because 2007 he failed, 2008 he had to deliver it. He didn't allow his people, both men and women, to leave office for 6 months. There are stories about, I was there that time in America, there were stories about where the spouses were pregnant. A husband could not even go and help the wife in delivery. And what happened? Majority of his team, by the way, those who contributed in making iPhone, after 6 months, everyone left Apple because they were so burnt out. And majority of them ended up with divorce. You can go on YouTube, look out Apple case study, iPhone real story. You'll find a lot of people who were working for iPhone that time or Apple sharing their own ordeal. And they couldn't say no to Steve Jobs because he had such an energy. He said, we have to deliver. Of course, he made a product which is loved by people at large. At what cost? Where people lost their lives, where people lost their families. And all that team, all of them quit Apple eventually. They said, we cannot continue to function with him like that. That's mode of passion. But it definitely brings you to result, no doubt about it. When a leader is situated in goodness, well, not always brings you to result, but has a potential. What would be leader in goodness? Huh? Positive approach. What do you mean by positive approach? Not that mode of passion leader had negative approach. What do you mean by positive approach? Yes. Okay, he's considerate. He's considerate. Calmness, composed. Takes responsibility of decisions. Huh? He encourages. He's not like Tamoguna insecure. What will happen if others progress? What will happen to me? He's in a good state. He's in a platform of knowledge. He has confidence on himself. He has a good self-esteem. And he encourages the team. He believes in empowerment and building up the team. He's composed. He's calm. He doesn't himself go into burnout. He doesn't facilitate burnout for others. And he's sensitive to the needs of others. Let's take a look at it. Feels low tension, high energy. Feels remarkably serene and under control, which means he can do many things. Yet, he's in control of his emotions, which means responses. Passion, you don't know what person is going to react. In mode of goodness, you know that the person is cool and composed. He will react in a certain manner only. He is alert, optimistic, hope-giving, hopeful, presence of mind, peaceful, has a deep sense of physical stamina and well-being. Mental and physical reserves are high, best combination of healthy vitality and increased creative intelligence. This is the platform where you can make the best of the decisions in the shortest amount of time. So if you want to, I always teach when I give my, I do a course for the MBA students here. So every time I address an MBA student, I always say, if you want to be successful, there is one quality you need. And what is that? Only a person who can make the best decision in the shortest span of time is going to win the race. That's the way you win the race. And in what situation you can make it? Only if you're situated in mode of goodness, not otherwise. They do just as much or even more than people in mode of passion, but they undergo less struggle, less wear and tear. All right. So after this, having a little understanding of leaders, now an obvious question comes. Is it like I'm always in goodness, passion or ignorance? Or does one mode becomes prominent over another mode? So Krishna speaks about it. Yes, there is a race for prominence. Our days are defined by modes. How many of you have heard from your parents or from your elders or from your well-wishers? If you wake up early in the morning, your mind will be fresh and you can memorize quickly. Please raise your hand. So Brahma Muhurta time, which is 2 hours before sunrise, which on and off ideally starts somewhere around 4 or 4:30 in the morning, is called as mode of goodness time. So if you do any activity in that mode of goodness time, your performance goes extremely high. Therefore, in all spiritual circles, you'll find one thing in common. Every one of them talk about early morning practice. And what you should do early morning, the most important thing. And what is the most important thing? Is to remember the Lord, is to establish our relationship with the Lord. Therefore, we as a spiritual practitioners, every morning at 4:30, we come together and we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How many of you know that we have every morning 4:30 program? We have an online program every day at 4:30, which goes up to 4:45 or 4:50, depending on the time I speak on that. Anyone over here aware? Some of you are aware. Anyone of you join that morning program? Okay, only two of you are aware. So Mother Rima joins like this. If any one of you are interested, you can start joining that tomorrow, and you'll find a whole community coming online at their respective homes, joining at 4:30. We prepare our consciousness before we can start building our relationship with the Lord. We offer some prayers together, and then we get into mantra meditation. So that is called as mode of goodness, early morning. And it remains unless sunrise. Have you seen the moment sunrise happens, the movement increases, the birds begin to fly here and there, and it begins to fill your mind with a lot of thoughts? Okay, let me ask this. How many of you, or have you had an experience in the recent past where you woke up, let's say 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning before sunset, before sunrise, and that is not your regular time of waking up? And when you woke up early and you felt such a relief, oh, such a fresh day, such a nice weather. Anyone of you had that experience? I understood the subject matter. I would encourage all of you to experiment with your life if you really want to learn this. When I was studying in America, I was doing the research, and for a month I took upon myself, I wanted to see how time affects my life. I took upon myself where I decided I'm going to do my work whole night. I used to leave my house at 7 o'clock in the evening, finish my dinner, leave 7 o'clock, and I would come back in the morning at 6 o'clock. And then sleep and wake up somewhere around by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, prepare lunch, spend some time doing some preparation for research work, and then prepare dinner and then leave in the evening. And I was amazed. And I didn't have this experience before, because now I was spending whole night awake, and I would leave sometimes my research lab, let's say at the morning at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And when I would be walking early in the morning, it used to give me such a positive energy. It used to give me such a wonderful experience that once for all I decided, I'm not going to do night out anymore. Because for a healthy living, it is very important your day starts with positivity. If you wake up, how many of you had an experience if you're woken up, let's say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you wake up with a little heavy head, with a backache, and feeling very heavy and disinterested in life itself? Can anyone raise your hand? How many of you had that experience? But that's not the time to wake up. The energy, the nature does not support you at that time. But if you wake up at 5 o'clock, of course, not that you sleep at 2 o'clock and wake up at 5 o'clock. 3 hours rest will not make it. If you have slept by 10 o'clock and then you wake up by 5 o'clock, then you experience, you'll feel like today is the day that I should live my life to the fullest, just because of waking up. That's about goodness. Late morning, afternoon until evening, until sunset, it is mode of passion. And the moment there is a sunset, the darkness, that is called as tamoguna. Tamoguna means laziness, which means sleepiness. That's the time meant to sleep. So what we do in this time, accordingly you can cultivate those modes. If you perform certain activity, which are described in Bhagavad Gita, you can increase the influence of goodness. Why we perform spiritual practice early in the morning? Because that spiritual practice multiplies your mode of goodness index within you. So much so, that mode of goodness now spills over in rest of your day. So your day, which you're spending in office, now that is also influenced by goodness, because you have cultivated goodness in the early morning hour. Waking up in the morning hour alone is not sufficient. After waking up early in the morning, you have to necessarily practice spiritual lifestyle. That is how you increase your goodness index, otherwise not. What is the result of actions in different modes? This is maybe not as of now relevant, but just let me tell you. What is the result of action? Ignorance, foolish madness. Passion, some material happiness, but ultimately misery. Goodness is all pure, full of knowledge, and you're happy all through it. Pure goodness will speak later on. What do you think about your behavior? I am peaceful. I am fresh, full of energy. I am feeling happy. I feel like helping others. Is this the prominent feeling that you have, or once in a while? Okay. I am burning with desire. Ye dil mange more. I need to earn. I need to travel here. I need a new dress. I need a new phone. I need a new car. I need a bigger apartment. I am upset. My desires are not getting fulfilled. Is that what you have prominently in you? I am tired. Life has no value. Nothing is working for me. Forget it. Hell with everything. Or is that the prominent thing for you? You don't have to answer me. This is for self introspection. If this is the prominent, which means you already, fortunately, you have a higher index of goodness. Just with little spiritual touch, you can so easily multiply your goodness index and become so happy and peaceful in your life. This is mode of passion. You got to struggle. And mode of ignorance, कल से 4:30 वाला program compulsory. Understood? If anyone of you think I am kind of here, no exception. 4:30 tomorrow, compulsory आना है if you want to live your life or experience life. All right. Can I get one of the paper? Come to this page. I have got 2 pages for you, front and back. I want all of you to look at this page. Are you there on this page? There are characteristics given in the right column. And on the top, I have given number 1, 2, 3. 1 refers to goodness, 2 refers to passion, 3rd refers to ignorance. So whatever you have understood now, please start marking what this particular characteristic belongs to. Is it to goodness, passion, or ignorance? Is that okay? I'm going to do a personality test after this, if time permits, or else I'll give it as a homework. For doing so what I'm doing here is, I'm going to help you understand your personality type. Prior to that, you have to at least mark this. Let's quickly do that. When you sign in into your student dashboard, like this, you get plenty of quizzes over there. I'm giving you a sample quiz here because I thought we'll do this. When you go back and log into your student portal, you'll get more quizzes there to attempt to help you understand this topic. I'm just giving you an introduction to this profound subject matter. Now, how many of you agree being situated in mode of goodness is in my own interest? Yes or no? And if my majority of my day can be in mode of goodness, I will be happy, people around me will be happy. And I would happily reach my goals. Yes or no? So question comes now, how do we reach to that situation? Power of conditioning is tremendous. Do I have a better chance to become better? Or do I have a chance to become better? Prabhupada gives a beautiful purport.
But if one wants, he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and passion. Although there are these 3 modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness. And by transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called the Vasudeva state, a state in which one can understand the science of God.
Thank you. How I think, speak, and act will depend on how I endeavor to give up. This is a formula which we want to memorize. Give up what? Attachment to wrong things and aversion to right things. अगर आपको अपने अंदर परिवर्तन लाना है, आपको 2 चीजों को छोड़ना पड़ेगा. वो क्या है? गलत चीजों के प्रति आकर्षण और अच्छी चीजों के प्रति डिटैचमेंट. Give up the attachment to wrong things and aversion to right things. What are these wrong things and the right things? So, scriptures introduces there are 4 activities which we should not indulge into. That is obviously meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit affairs. These destroys our consciousness, our quality of life, and it drags us from goodness to passion, passion to ignorance. What are the things that we should accept? So, if you want to bring out a change, you would need a spiritual lifestyle. What? A particular kind of a diet that is called as vegetarian diet, a dress, association, environment, everything where you put yourself in, it have a tremendous difference. Sattvic diet, fruits, milk, grains, cereals, vegetable, natural products, and karma free diet, that is what every Saturday evening you eat here is called as karma free diet. It is called as prasadam, in English translated as karma free diet. We offer it in yajna as a sacrifice to the Lord, and then it becomes prasadam. So every Saturday evening when you come, or Sunday evening you come here, you get a sanctified food which purifies our consciousness. Sattvic dress, simple dress that does not provoke passion. That is called a sattvic dress or attire. Sattvic environment, taking out time to meditate. These are certain things that we have to in sattvic association. Just like we organize regular yatras and retreat. How many of you from here had gone to Vrindavan Yatra? Please raise your hand. Quite few of you had gone to Vrindavan Yatra. So you all would have experienced probably a healthy decision to take a break from Pune life. This is how we do that. Why ISKCON is needed? How ISKCON plays a pivotal role in transforming our life. And Prabhupada writes beautifully how ISKCON is transforming the consciousness of the society and bringing them to the level of goodness where you can begin to live happily. Somebody would like to read? Please raise your hand. The mic will come.
Since the present civilization is not very congenial to the living entities, Kanya consciousness,
Krishna consciousness.
Sorry, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Though Krishna consciousness society will develop the mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animal and can't see things clearly. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see the killing of one animal, they are taking the chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life.
Law of karma. What you do, so you shall reap. You eat an animal, you'll be eaten by animal in the next life. Go ahead.
Because people have no education in actual knowledge, they become irresponsible.
Thank you. Somebody else would like to read the next paragraph? The over here. Go ahead, go ahead. Has a hand up. Fine.
To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing
Can you just hold the mic like this? Yeah.
to stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will behave sober in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if majority of the people aren't happy and prosperous, if a certain percentage of the population develops a Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is the possibility for peace and prosperity all over the world.
Thank you, Mother. It's self-explanatory. I'm just reading out certain. Somebody else would like to read? Go ahead, go ahead. Whoever has a hand up.
Otherwise, if the world is devoted to the mode of passion and ignorance, there can be no peace or prosperity. In the mode of passion, people become greedy and their hankering for sense of enjoyment has no limit. One can see that even if one has enough money and adequate arrangement for the sense of gratification, there is neither happiness nor peace of mind. That is not possible because one is situated in the mode of passion.
Thank you. So peace of happiness or peace of mind is not possible. And the last section, somebody else?
If one wants happiness at all, his money will not help him. He has to elevate himself to the mode of goodness by practicing Krishna consciousness. When one is engaged in the mode of passion, not only is he mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome. He has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. This is all miserable.
Continue. Last point.
In the mode of ignorance, people become mad. Being distressed by their circumstances, they take shelter of intoxication and thus they sink further into ignorance. Their future in life is very dark. There is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is from Bhagavad Gita purpose. I'll highly encourage you taking your time to come over here to have a copy of Bhagavad Gita and take out some time in your everyday life to read Bhagavad Gita. Concluding, Krishna says, how do you transcend these modes? Please repeat after me. Mamachaya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate Saguna samatiyeta Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, transcends the modes of material nature, come to the level of Brahman. The sound vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is a spiritual sound vibration which is immune to the modes of material nature. The more we come in contact with the sound vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to that degree we become immune to the modes of material nature. Similarly, to the degree we practice a pure life, follow the sattvic environment, have a sattvic culture, sattvic attire, sattvic diet, to that degree we improve our lower modes of consciousness and come situated on the higher levels of consciousness called as Sattva Guna. I guess we have given enough presentation today. It is safe enough to conclude that a happy life is only possible if you're situated in goodness. It does not depend on your bank balance. It does not depend on how famous you are on your Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. It all depends on your mode of consciousness. Mode of goodness is that platform that gives you an opportunity to live a meaningful life. Everything else is animalistic. A meaningful prayer, just to give us a strength, please say that loudly behind me. Oh Lord, give me the courage to change the things which can and ought to be changed. The serenity to accept the things which cannot be changed. And the wisdom to know the difference. In other words, give me the courage to bring the change that I can. Give me the serenity to accept the fact, things which I cannot, and give me the wisdom to know the difference, what I can, what I cannot. To conclude, we can perceive how people are functioning in this world with a mistaken belief of free will. Agreed? Everyone thinks, I am acting, but you're not acting, you're working according to the modes of material nature. If you're in Sattva Guna, your response would be like that cap seller, Sattva Guna. Sattu. If you're in Rajoguna, your response would be like Rajo. And if you are in Tamoguna, your response would be like Tamo. It is not about you. It is about the mode of consciousness and it dictates you to act. So those who think, we started with this discussion, the biggest misconception is to think, I am the doer. You are not the doer. You're just a puppet. Next. In actuality, we are impelled to act according to these influences. We just did a little exercise here, and where all of you can highlight different characteristics with different modes, yes? Which makes the subject matter clear and loud that this is a universal fact. As you change our mode of consciousness, so that we change our personality. The state of freedom begins when we transcend these modes of nature. We had got one freedom in 1947, but we are still slaves to the modes of material nature. But actual freedom begins when we begin to transcend. And how do you begin to transcend the modes of material nature? The more you take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, the spiritual sound vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If not anything, but at least take this lesson from today's session that I should at least every day practice half an hour of meditation where I chant mantra, spiritual sound vibration, and see a difference for yourself. And last, or else, if they don't bring this change in themselves, they continue to act perpetually according to the modes of consciousness, and they remain always a victim. With that, we come to a conclusion here. Next Saturday, when we'll meet, we'll be discussing from the chapter 15, titled as The Yoga of the Supreme Person, where Krishna will further speak about how to break the shackles of this material nature. Thank you all for joining it. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And those of you who don't have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, and if you like this subject matter, wish to come back again, please do collect a copy of Bhagavad Gita. Do not take it as a trivial subject matter. If you're dedicating your 1.5 or 2 hours for coming here, my humble request, little sincerely, have a copy of Bhagavad Gita. When I'm reading verses, flip through the pages. When I'm reading purport, look at the purport. And when you go back home, during the span of a week, please go through that Bhagavad Gita. Then your learning would be strong, and then you'll be able to apply the teachings that you're getting here. And then I would feel that I have made some contribution to your life. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Time for dinner. Hare Krishna.